Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. Proper excited. This is our deadline stream. We are live for the next hour, and as you'll see, I'm joined by a very special guest. Big Man Backer, how are you doing, my friend?
Thanks for having me, Johnny. Excited heading into this week. I'm actually on my triple captain, so actually very nervous, but at the same time excited ahead of what should be a very good game week.
I look forward to chatting triple captaincy with you later in the show. We're also going to be showing our teams. Of course, we're going to be looking at the main headlines. We're also going to look at a bit of chip strategy, what we're thinking now. We know a little bit more about blanks and doubles. And of course, we've got against the obvious and answering your questions. But look, guys, we're live for an hour. You might be thinking, why are they doing a deadline stream 2.5 hours before the deadline? Well, look, we want to engage with you lot, and we feel like it's great to do that nice and early in the afternoon. So rather than stream at 5:30, for example, alongside a ton of other content creators, we're going fairly early. Now, I do realize there will be lots of other temptations out there for you, other people you might want to watch, and that's fine. Go watch them at 5, but for the next hour, stay with us, because it's me and Big Man Backer. We've brought in a special guest for this one. You might be thinking, where's Dean? Dean was actually going to join us. You saw him on the thumbnail. It was going to be all three of us, but he's there's London rail strikes, and he has been in central London today and was like, I'm not going to make it home, and then he's got to go back to London tonight because he's watching Fulham Chelsea. So he was like, I don't want to risk not going to the game. I'm just going to stay in London. So yeah, he can't join us because of the rail strikes. Gutted.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. He's going to the game tonight as a Fulham fan, but it's obviously at Stamford Bridge. So I said to him, are you sat with the away fans? And Dean was like, well, it's a corporate ticket, so I don't know. I'm guessing he's with the home fans. So if Fulham win or Fulham score, he's going to really struggle not to stand up and cheer. So we'll have to get a report back from him next week to see how he copes with that.
Yeah, it's actually funny that I've been, on the show like quite a few times over the past few months, but every single time it's either with you or with him, or not with both of you together. Even though it was scheduled to happen for the first time, so I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, every time it's like, scheduled for the three of us. Like Dean literally pulled out about an hour ago. So yeah, I think we'll perhaps update you on his moves and what his team's looking like halfway through the stream. But you'll have to make do with the two of us tonight. Good to see so many in the chat. We've got Haley with us, and Mark and Steve, CH and Tiffany and Mads. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Good to see 85 of you already in. So, Big Man, how are you feeling this week? Like, obviously, triple captaincy we'll get to slightly later in the show, but we've had 2 weeks off. Have you spent the last 2 weeks thinking of your moves, or have your moves been, and we'll talk more about your team later, but have you been pretty set, or have you been changing your mind every 10 minutes? Because I've been changing my mind a lot. Usually I'm quite considered, but this week I've been all over the place.
No, thankfully, I took a bit of rest. I mean, I only started properly thinking about FPL after the cup games were over. Especially after the FA Cup, because the Carabao Cup games are more or less done after the first leg anyway. So I mean, let's say from Monday onwards, I started looking at FPL, and I mean, it's important that you sort of take a seat back as well sometimes, because from now on until the end of the season, there's no break at all.
Yeah.
So you just have to go through and through. So I just took this as the one last hurrah I'll have before the end of the season to take some rest. But overall, yes, there are actually a lot of conundrums to consider this week. I mean, a lot of us are looking at Bruno Fernandes. People are thinking of getting rid of Kane, De Bruyne. Cancelo has left City. There's plenty to ponder over.
Yeah. Stay tuned to see what we're doing with our teams, because both of us are looking at introducing Bruno and probably sacrificing Kane, but we'll talk about how set we are with those moves. And I'm someone that only 24 hours ago was pretty keen not to go to Bruno, and I'm already changing my mind on that one. Unfortunately, I've got a little bit of time, and you guys in the chat might be able to convince me otherwise, but I'm thinking that Kane might be my sacrificial lamb, if you like. Let's move on to our first feature of today, though, because we've got loads to get through in the next 50 minutes, 54 minutes remaining. So coming up next, we've got tips and chips. We're going to start heavy. We're going to start with some chip strategy, and then we'll get to triple captaincy, and then of course we'll get some headlines off the press conferences today. But let's start with the chip strategy. This is Ben Crellin's chart. Many of you will have seen this. If you're not already following Ben, you can see his handle on screen at Ben Crellin. Do go give him a follow. He's I'd be very surprised if there's anyone in the chat that doesn't follow Ben Crellin or that's not heard of him. Please let us know in the chat if you've never heard of Ben Crellin. I'd just love to see someone go, yeah, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm guessing you're all on FPL Twitter. Although I guess if you're not on FPL Twitter, maybe you don't know him. Although I think he made his debut last night on a stream. But he's a must follow, right?
I do think these spreadsheets of his are all over social media. So even if you're not on Twitter, I highly doubt people don't know about him. Anyone who's playing FPL and who's engaged week in week out, who knows what to do in double game weeks, who even watches the slightest bit of YouTube content, will have an idea of who Ben Crellin is. He is just let's say a fixture genius. He knows exactly when the doubles, blanks are going to happen. So if you want to stay up to date with the double or blank announcements, then make sure to follow him on Twitter, Ben Crellin.
Yeah, I love that he's done in the last couple of seasons. He's introduced like the percentage chance a little bit more, so you can see on the key there, like the orange is likely, the possible is 35 to 65, unlikely he's got marked as well, which is really useful when forward planning. But I mean, we can pretty much safely say some of the blanks now off the back of the cup games in the week. We know that 25 is going to be a blank. It's not a massive blank, but it's a blank for big teams. So United, Brighton, Newcastle, we've all got players from Newcastle United and some of us from Brighton, maybe one or two from Brentford. But then that game week 28, that is going to cause all sorts of issues. Look at the likely blank game week percentage, 65 to 95. The red boxes with the white text are likely to be off. That's a huge amount of games, and it's from teams that will really affect us. So you're looking at the likes of, I don't know, Chelsea and going, okay, Chelsea play in both the blanks. Maybe they'll become a thing. Aston Villa the same. How are you looking to navigate this? Because it's early to commit to a chip strategy, and I've certainly not committed. But my first take is I like to use a free hit in a big double, but I might just have to use it in that blank in 28 because it might be too difficult to navigate without a free hit. But my initial plan was either dead end my team to 29 and wildcard in 29 or free hit in 29 and just focus on free transfers to cover me for 25, 28, and then 32. But I don't know if free transfers is going to be enough, but maybe 9 men is enough if there are good 9 players, for example. What's your take?
My initial take on this is that I don't think any chip is required in Game Week 25, given the fact that we have loaded up on let's say Arsenal players and City players, and they have fixtures in Game Week 25. Yes, a lot of us will be on triple Man United, and we have Newcastle players as well, but we still have 3 weeks to go, and I'd assume that even if we get someone like a Bruno, him being a premium asset will probably have to make way before Game Week 25. And similarly from Newcastle, I think Trippier is the only one worth keeping right now. With Almiron is sort of fallen off the pace, so there's not anyone else you'd want to keep. But overall, coming to the chip strategy, there are 2 ways you can go. The first way is that you can either dead end to Game Week 28 and then wildcard in Game Week 29, or the other route is that you can actually go for a free hit in, let's say, Game Week 28 and wildcard right before a double later. And then a bench boost. So these are the 2 things I'm looking at. I think I'm going to wait till Game Week 25 because Game Week 25 will be the next big planning week when we're going to get more clarification on which teams are doubling in 28. We still don't exactly have clarity. For example, Fulham and Leeds, Liverpool, these are a few teams which we don't have an idea whether or not they will double in 28. And I think that will go quite a long way to dictating which chips to use in that time. So I'm going to wait till Game Week 25 before I decide which way to go.
Yeah, my plan is I'm really hoping I can navigate like you. I'm confident navigating 25 isn't a problem. I'm hoping I can navigate 28 with frees. But the one thing that perhaps stops us navigating 28 with free transfers will be, should say Liverpool get a double game week there in 25, or we get double game weeks from other teams popping up, and you think, okay, maybe I want to go jump on a Brighton asset, for example, who could double in 26. You'll see at the bottom there, but then they don't play in or are unlikely to play in 28. So I'm hoping my free moves aren't, I'm not distracted by beelining for that 28 blank by going, I've got to load up on doublers in 25, 6 and 7, which inevitably is something we'll all want to do. But I always think with chip strategy, the best thing to do, and you guys on the wire say this a lot, is just to remain fluid and flexible. Don't commit to one strategy until you've got more and more information. And as the week
absolutely, and while we're at this, Gianni, I mean, this is why I just despite the fact that Brighton have a sensational run of fixtures, if you don't have Matoma this week, I just don't think it makes sense to go for him, because there are far more priority transfers to make. United are doubling this week. Arsenal City are doubling in game week 23. And then even if you buy Matoma this week, you'll sort of have to sell him later in 25. So these are the sort of things you have to take into account. For example, keeping KDB could potentially be an easy route to Salah in game week 25 or 26 should Liverpool double. So that's a lot of us are considering, selling KDB and or keeping Kane. So in these 50-50 kind of decisions, these are the things that tend to sway you. And for example, keeping KDB allows you to be flexible and prepare yourself for the Liverpool double as well, should that happen.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I do like the focus on double game weeks where you can. Like, it's great to say, look, Matoma's been amazing and he is. Like, I can't tell anyone that's buying Matoma this week not to, because I love him that much and I do think the fixture's there. But at the same time, you should be focusing on Man United and Leeds, knowing you should be starting on 4, not 2. You should be starting on 4 for appearance points for any player you buy. And then, of course, the ceiling should be much higher because you're buying players that might get 180 instead of 90. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that one goes for everyone. I'm hoping that doesn't bite us for those that have looked past Matoma. I actually went for the Brighton midfielder last week and just bought Solly March instead of Matoma. So it was a dreadful error. I thought the fixtures are there for Brighton. I thought I'll sell them before 25. But the March Matoma one was a 50-50. But with another week's worth of information, we've seen Brighton play a couple of times. We saw them against Leicester. We've seen them in the Cup against Liverpool. And you go, okay, now Matoma is definitely the pick. So when we do go to Brighton players, maybe that is for double game week 26 if it happens. I've no doubt we'll all be going to Matoma. We won't have that 50-50 dilemma that we perhaps had 2 weeks ago. That was the one I was facing.
I thought you got unlucky with March, to be very honest. He missed a sitter, and that's one he really should have put away while Matoma scored a worldie.
Yeah, off a low XG
just one of those
shot,
things
didn't
where
he? Yeah.
just one of those. Yeah, exactly, and just one of those things which goes against you. It's just variance. I still think March is a very good pick, and if you have him, I can see him scoring points in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly that. I'm hoping I get points against Bournemouth, and then next week I'll have a dilemma. Do I sell March or do I sell, say, for example, Bruno if I bring him in to that Arsenal midfield slot? But again, it's another week's worth of data to look at. It's great to see so many in the chat. Big man, we've got some fans of yours for sure. Ankit's I think maybe new round here. And a fair few new names that we don't see in the chat very often. So thank you for joining us. If you are new round here and you're watching for the first time, please do hit the like button and subscribe, and you'll be seeing Big Man, I'm sure, between now and the end of the season a fair few times as well. CH in the chat also went for March. Yeah, I think it's still, we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much about it. Let's move on then to a little bit of triple captaincy chat in this tips and chips section. If I still add my triple captainship, I don't think there's much in it. One thing for sure is I'd definitely be using it either this week or next week, 100%. But one thing I would be doing is I'd be using, I think I'd be using it on Haaland. I think I'd be waiting to 23, but there's such a little amount in it. I think if you're going Rashford this week, it's still a good call. And Big Man, you're set on Rashford, right? You may have frozen for a second, but that's fine. Guys in the chat, let us know who you're going for. You can see your black screen says there, Big Man triple captain Rashford. I'll let him break the news when he comes back, but he's definitely made a decision on his triple captain. So stay tuned to see what Big Man says on this one. Guys in the chat, who are you going for? Are you triple captaining this week? If so, who are you going for? John Cahill is going Bruno. Love that differential shout. Mark's used it already. Ankit's looking at Erling next week. Eddie's on Rashford. CH is, he is, isn't he? He's pondering that one. Guys, when Big Man comes back, the first question we've got for him is, tell us if you're activating that chip. And I'm pretty sure I know what he's doing. Here he is. Big Man, you're back. The big question is, are you using your chip this week? And if so, who's it on?
Yes, I am. It's on Rashford. I'm using the triple captaincy. I just think it's the perfect storm. Rashford is in form. He's playing at home. He's historically tends to do much better at home. His numbers this season at home are phenomenal. Post Ronaldo is averaging with an xG of 0.94. At home, he has an xGI of 0.72 among midfielders, which is the second highest.
Okay.
So he's in form. Leeds and Palace are conceding more chances after the restart. They're actually 18th and 19th, respectively, for XG conceded, which is a lot more than they generally tend to concede. So I just like, in general, I like captaining midfielders, and this just seems like that perfect week where I can go with my gut because the alternative is Haaland because I'm not really looking beyond it because as we've discussed, there are plenty of doubles coming up later, and we might have to use, let's say, the wild card or the bench boost or the free hit in other weeks, which might be more optimal for use of chips. I don't think
Yeah.
triple captain is, let's say, that beneficial of a chip anyway because essentially you're just getting one extra player. So I think it's a bit overrated in general. So I'm sort of happy to get it out of the way right now because when the opportunity presents itself, the other alternative is to go with Haaland next week. But Villa have improved defensively. They're actually fifth for XG conceded under Emery, and the other fixtures against Arsenal and Arsenal at home are a different beast altogether. Which is, and these are all, it's a combination of all these factors which is making me lean towards triple captaining. But yes, that's the way I'm going. What are your thoughts?
I think everything you've said there makes complete sense. But the one thing I can't look past is my trust issues for Man United. I have trust issues with Man United. Everyone on this stream will know I'm not the biggest fan of Manchester United. However, under the new manager, they're a very different Man United. I've loved the last few years of content creation. I've been able to slate United and look okay for it. Under Ollie, they were rubbish. Under Van Gaal and Mourinho, they were boring, whatever. But under this new manager, their FPL assets are good, and I've got to hold my hands up and say, yeah, like I'm going triple Man United this week. I'm captain a Man United player. They're there. I just still feel like the core group of players is the same core that was struggling for so long, and I wonder if they could struggle against Palace or if Leeds could beat them. And they struggled against Palace at Selhurst Park. They are a different beast at Old Trafford, and I just love Leeds. I've got a soft spot for Leeds. My father-in-law is a Leeds fan, and therefore I want to be cheering Leeds on. And I think if I still had the chip, I'd be looking at Haaland just because of the trust issues. I believe in City more than I believe in United. What I would say is, from all the things you listed, makes complete sense to go Rashford. But also the fixtures, I think for United, it's a Saturday, Wednesday spread. Little rest there for Rashford in between. For
Exactly.
Haaland, it's Sunday, Wednesday. So again, points the finger in Rashford's direction yet again. You've got the extra point for the goal, the clean sheet. I am 51-49 on it, and I don't think it matters too much. I think they'll both return well.
Yes, exactly. I don't think there will be a huge disparity in the points that they score. But another point is that when you're looking at choosing between captains, and another thing you have to sort of keep in mind is that, as you mentioned, due to the short turnaround, there's every possibility that, for example, if City are winning 2-0 against Villa, you can argue that Haaland would have done the damage by then anyway. But usually those last 30 minutes are where the braces happen. That's where the hat tricks happen. That's where the hauls happen, right? Because the other team goes chasing, and that's the thing which I like about Rashford in these two fixtures, particularly in the one against Leeds, because they are a side which will continue to attack and they don't really know how to play defensively. They will give plenty of space on the counter for someone like a Rashford. And it's just that you'd expect United to keep at least one clean sheet in these two fixtures as well. So automatically for a midfielder, the floor is higher. The floor is like 5 or 6 points automatically. And if he gets a goal, I think that's a success. So I just think it doesn't take much for Rashford to be a success this week. It's just he needs one attacking return, and I'll be happy, to be very honest.
Yeah, and if he gets an attacking return and it's a low-scoring game, he's probably getting bonus points as well. Yeah, it's a fair point to go. And I think for those of you that have got the chip, if you're unsure and you don't want to risk it on Haaland because you're worried about X minutes, for example, and you want to get 180 minutes, Rashford is, unless he goes off injured or unless they're cruising 4-5-0, he's very likely to get 180. Haaland almost certainly won't be getting 180. So if you're a manager that likes X minutes, another reason to go to Rashford.
Exactly. And on that point, I think Fernandes is not a bad option either if you're chasing and if you're looking to chase rank. I think Fernandes can do really well this week as well. just the same reasons as I mentioned for Rashford United, or there's a good vibe around them at the moment. And I do believe that Fernandes will be on penalties. Yes, Rashford took the last
Okay.
one where Fernandes gave him the ball, but let's say if it's a tight game, then I expect Fernandes to take the penalty. Um, and he is, his XGI is similar to that of Rashford's, but Rashford has better goal threat numbers. So in isolation, I prefer Rashford. But if you're, let's say, chasing a mini league or overall rank, then I think Fernandes is not a bad shout either.
Yeah, will definitely be a bit of a differential. Like Bruno's ownership this season is really, really low compared to what we've been used to historically in FPL. I'm thinking he's around 10%. Yeah, 12.8% owned. Whilst Rashford, for example, was 51. So if you are looking for that jump in a mini league and you're happy to bet against Rashford, then perhaps Bruno is an option. Any other United players you'd be looking at in attack? If you were, I mean, it feels like we've all got Rashford and Shaw. The third United asset to own this week, if you don't have him, you can get to him easily, is Bruno. But outside of that, should we be looking at another defender? Is 2 clean sheets potentially on the cards? Or would you gamble on a Martial, but is he going to get a 30 and a 60?
If I wasn't getting Fernandez, I'd go for defender, because I think there's slim pickings when you look at look at the attack, because Martial's injury issues are there for everyone to see. Apparently, he wasn't pictured in training again yesterday. Everyone else in the squad was. So even though he came on and scored in the cup, you're not really sure how many minutes you're getting out of him. It's that kind of case where if you have him, you probably keep him and not sell him for a hit to get Fernandez. But I would definitely not get any one of Martial or Weghorst. And Anthony, his numbers are decent, but Sancho was back. He cameoed in the cup as well, so I don't think with Sancho around, Anthony is an option. I think Lisandro Martinez is a decent shot at 4.5 million if you're looking for a defender, and plenty actually are with Cancelo out and Doherty out. So with them not being in the picture, I think if you're looking at a defender, I think Lisandro can do well. Good defense and decent double game week as well.
Yeah, well priced. These Man United defenders are very, very low off the back of a poor season last year, but you can pick up United defenders for under 5 million and probably should be making the most of that. Guys, we've got our team reveals coming up in the next couple of minutes, so don't go anywhere. Make sure hitting that like button and subscribing. Tell us, big man, without Martial pictured, and I saw Late Riser's tweet earlier, an owner like Late Riser, will Pranil be holding someone like Martial, knowing he's probably injured again or could miss the first game, but maybe gets the second? What do Martial owners do? You said there you should probably stick, but you could go to a Bamford at the same price, who's probably going to get 2 starts.
The risk is that before this news broke out, I was expecting him to start one game, probably the Leeds game, as it's the one on Wednesday,
Yeah.
and get, like, let's say 20-25 minutes in the Palace game. But if he's not pictured in training, and knowing the player's history, it becomes a very questionable call. It becomes a subjective call, actually, because you can argue with, oh, there's nothing. He might have been given a day off. But it's Martial on the other hand, with his history record. I think if I was Late Riser, uh, I'd probably sell him. I think Late Riser will probably sell him, even though he
He'll
loves
get
Martial.
twitchy, won't he?
Yes, I think so, because yesterday on the stream he said he'd keep Martial, but after this news, I'm really not sure which way he goes.
I think he might go. I've not spoken to him or seen any tweets that he may have gone this direction, but we are always very aligned with our thinking. If he's not looking at Bamford, I'd be surprised. But maybe if he's selling Martial, knowing him being a United fan, he'll be like, I need 3
Yes,
United. So it'll be a case of,
exactly.
okay, do I need to go down to Nonto so I can upgrade to a Bruno? But yeah, he'll definitely want that triple United. That's one thing we can guarantee. Or he might be looking at 8-point hit.
Yeah, I think he's going to prioritize the triple Man United for sure.
Yeah. Okay,
Knowing
well, let's
him,
see
yeah,
what
he
you're doing.
sweats goals.
Let's see what you're doing. We've got our team reveals coming up next, guys. So don't go anywhere. Next up, we've got Big Man's team and my team. Guys, full confession. At 26 minutes past the hour, I've purposely come to team reveals. Why is that? Well, I don't want you going anywhere at that half-past mark, right? So stay with us for the next 34 minutes, because we're only live till 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Maybe you want to scroll Twitter or check out the Instagram lives or watch other YouTubers. But for the next 35 minutes, do not go anywhere. Make the most of having me and Big Man Backer because we're going to be answering your questions later in the show. And when I say answering your questions, I don't mean we pick one out of 200. I mean we get through tons of your questions because this stream is all about being interactive. So stay with us for the next 35 minutes. We've got my team coming up in the next 10. But first, let's check out what the big man's looking to do this week. What are your thoughts, mate?
There are plenty of routes I can go because Fernandez, as I mentioned, is a bit of a priority. The triple captaincy is on Rashford. There are two options. The first option is to sell De Bruyne for let's say Fernandez and sell Almiron for someone like Odegaard with a view of buying De Bruyne or Mahrez next week. I personally like the second option, which I'm just going to mention, and that's to sell Kane and Almiron for Nketiah and Fernandez. A, because it saves a transfer to get the City player back, and B, because it gives me Nketiah, who I believe is the best Arsenal attacker to get. Even when you look at the numbers, he's getting the highest number of big chances among Arsenal players post the restart. In fact, when you combine the big chances that the Arsenal midfielders have accumulated, Nketiah still has double, more than double. And no player in the league has a better non-pen xGI per 90 either. So Nketiah, in my opinion, has to be priority. I read the news about Jesus that he might be back for game week 25, but reading Arteta's latest comments on him, I think Arteta will be very, very cautious with him. I don't think he'll throw him in straight away, especially for Nketiah, who's looking very fit and performing so well. So I think I'm going to sell Kane for Nketiah and Almiron for Fernandez, and that sort of gives me the flexibility to set myself up for game week 25 at the same time ensuring that I have a free transfer to use next week if I need it.
Feels like a very smart play, mate. Well, our teams are very similar. We've both got Ake on the bench. You're going to go triple captain Rashford. We've spoken about that. Kepa in goal over Ward makes complete sense. I completely get it. My only question to you would be, because we're making similar moves, like we're both selling Kane for Bruno. I'm going to go Nketiah, and I know I'm going to go him next week, but I'm not fussed about having Nketiah this week. Like, sure, he plays Everton, but I'm looking to go, for example, to Bamford and then sell either Bamford or Havertz, one of my two other strikers outside of Haaland, to Nketiah next week. But of course, that's an extra 4 points. That's costing me 4 points. Yes. So I guess the question is Bamford worth 4 points on Nketiah this week? And I guess I think yes, because it's a move I'm looking at, and you perhaps think no.
Yes, exactly. I rate the Arsenal attack very highly. I mean, they scored 3 past Man United in the previous fixture with an XG of over 3. So I think they're going to create chances against anyone. I know Everton will probably have a new manager bounce with Dyche, who's going to make them more defensively solid. But I don't think Arsenal will struggle that much. I think they're comfortably going to win 2 or 3-0 in that fixture.
I guess that's what it comes down to, because I think
that's... What are your thoughts on the transfers in general? I mean, what are your thoughts on the De Bruyne Hokey Goki? Because that's the alternative move that a lot of people have suggested, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, that's not one for me. That really isn't one for me. I just don't like the idea of using 2 transfers on the same move. It just feels counterproductive. And I actually think De Bruyne, I know there's been whispers from some that say he, possibly doesn't start against Spurs. I think that's very unlikely. I actually don't think that's a bad fixture for him at all. I think City, it's a must-win game for them. If you go De Bruyne to Bruno as well, the fear also is that next week, well, let's say Bruno goes and gets a hat-trick against Leeds in game 2. Are you really going to want to sell Bruno against Leeds, who plays Leeds again? No, but you'll want... The only way I'd think about it would be to go De Bruyne to Bruno, and then perhaps Bruno or a different player to get to, say, a Mahrez, if it was Mahrez you actually wanted instead of De Bruyne. But if you're set on De Bruyne, then I don't think you do that.
Not just Leeds next week, dude. They also play Leicester at home in game week 24.
Yeah, exactly that.
So they have plenty of good fixtures coming up before game week 25. I mean, yes, we have to remove him before game week 25, but you also have to take game week 23, 24 into consideration as well.
Yeah, exactly that. We have to. And that's why, like, a bit like you, I'm probably a little bit nervous about selling Harry Kane because, and a few in the chat have mentioned, like I've said on this stream a lot, Kane's an underrated pick. And I've owned him from game week 1. I had a 3-million draft all the way through to the World Cup. But I'm getting rid of Kane similar to you. I don't expect much this week, but he always scores against Leicester, who have bought a new centre-back, and it is away at least. And then it's West Ham, who on their day can be good defensively. Are you worried about selling Kane?
Yeah, he tends to do well against West Ham as well. So yes, those are two fixtures where he should do well in. But there are two things to consider. Firstly, is the fact that triple Arsenal has to happen no matter what in game week 23, and selling Kane allows me to get that. Number one. At the same time, keeping De Bruyne, so that's triple City and saving a transfer. The second point is that I think that with Kane having City and Chelsea in two of the next four, I think Mitrovic can come close to matching him because Mitrovic has Forest at home and Wolves at home in game week 23 and 25. Now, those are two fixtures I really like from Mitrovic as well. So, if I was to hold Kane, I'd sell Mitrovic for Nketiah, which is something I'm not entirely comfortable with either.
Yeah.
So, just weighing up those options, I think selling Kane makes slightly more sense, even though I'd probably want him back after game week 25, but I think that's a while away, so we can sort of focus on the next 4 game weeks for now.
Yeah, yeah, and there's loads of changes at Spurs possibly. We still don't know quite. Richarlison, knowing he's back fit. Danjuma's been bought. The new right wing back Porro might be a really good option, and we might just try and cover Spurs in a slightly different direction. I'm not saying we'll cover Harry Kane's points necessarily, but there might be other Spurs interests which there hasn't been to date. So, like you, I'm happy to evaluate that in a few weeks. Guys, great to see the chat so active. And as you know, like we're always got our eyes on the chat, and we're really big on answering your questions. And the next 15 minutes time, for the final 15, 20 minutes of the show, it will all be about Q&A. And if you've ever watched this show before, you'll know that's absolutely what we do. Thank you to Lee and the Heroic Dosis and Rommel, Sampo and FPL Barden, Rahul, Keith's with us, Eddie and Lloyd. Good to have you all on board. Please do hit that like button and subscribe. Let's have a look at my team before we go to Against the Obvious and our Q&A. So similar to Big Man, I've got a very similar shape, similar bench. Very similar, actually. Our front lines are different, I guess, especially knowing this week I'm looking to replace Kane with Bamford. That gives me the funds to then go Martinelli to Bruno. And some will say you're crazy selling Arsenal players. And Big Man's going in Nketiah and he's got Martinelli and he said, he's backing an Arsenal comfortable victory there. I guess the reason why I'm doing it is, one, I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think Arsenal, will win, but I could see a 1-0. And two, next week for the double that Arsenal have, and for the amazing run of fixtures Arsenal are about to go on, where they play in the blanks and they've got good fixtures and they're the best team in the league. I want the right 3 Arsenal assets. So this feels like a good excuse for me to sell Martinelli, because I know long term I want to replace him with Odegaard or Saka anyway. So for me, it will go Kane, Bamford, and Nketiah. So Kane comes out for Bamford this week, and then Nketiah comes in either for Bamford or Havertz, depending on how they play. And then that midfield spot where Bruno occupies, where Martinelli is, either Bruno or March will come out, or Andreas if I wanted to, but I think I want to keep him, will come out for that Arsenal midfielder that I really want. And I think that will be Odegaard, although it could be Saka if I have the funds. And it depends who I'm selling if I do have the funds there. So, yeah, at the moment, if I was looking at 3 Arsenal, I would want Nketiah, Saka, and Odegaard in my team. I've got Ben White and I'm happy there. I'm not going to make moves to get Ben White out my team, but I'm not happy long-term with Martinelli. As good as he's been, I do think he'll keep his space in the 11, sure, unless his form really dips. But Trossard minutes are going to eat away at Martinelli's minutes. And we spoke about the final 20 minutes of a game earlier. I want my Arsenal players on the pitch for the final 20. And I think we're going to see Martinelli coming off a lot at 70 for Trossard. What's your take there, Big Man? It feels like a sideways move to ship Martinelli out to say Odegaard, but I feel like even if you're taking next week for a 4-point hit that move, I feel like it will be worth it. That 4 points will pay off over time.
If I was to rank the Arsenal mids, I think Odegaard is probably the best amongst them all, simply because he creates plenty of chances and he needs one attacking return and he gets like 2 or 3 bonus points. Having said that, I don't think this is the week to sell Martinelli. I think the threat of Trossard is slightly exaggerated. I agree that Martinelli will get subbed early in games, but I still think he's firmly first choice. And up against someone like a Seamus Coleman tomorrow, I mean, I think there are points there for the taking. I think this move is questionable. If I was in your position, I think I would sell Kane. That's the tough point. I'd probably sell Kane and Andres and get let's say Nketiah and Bruno if you can afford. If not, if you can't afford Nketiah, then I would get Nonto from Leeds and then potentially do Havertz to Nketiah next week. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I can afford that. So I could go Nketiah, Kane to Nketiah, and Andreas to Bruno. But then I've got a benching dilemma every week. I like having an 8th player like Andreas, who I can bench guilt-free every week and play in the blanks.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fair argument. But just this thought of selling Martinelli for a hit seems a bit questionable, especially against Everton. That's something that doesn't really sit right with me.
Martinelli for a hit does
Having
feel
said
risky.
having said that, let's say if Mahrez scores again this week, do you have any plans for him? Will you sell Ake next week to bring him in?
No, if Mahrez still looks good, I'm happy with my 3 City. I feel like I'm committed there. John Stone's out for 3 or 4 weeks, helps Ake slightly. I feel like Ake is the number 1 left back at the club now.
For sure, yeah.
De Bruyne points will be annoying if Mahrez keeps outperforming him, but the underlying data suggests they're very similar, and I think I'll be backing De Bruyne long term. So I'm fairly happy there. You're right, though. Like, if I see something this week, knowing my moves, if I see something next week, I'll struggle to jump on a bandwagon and say like a
Exactly
Mahrez,
my point.
because I'm
Exactly my
beelining
point.
for say I'm not, because I'm leaving myself this week with 1 Arsenal ahead of Arsenal's double game week, but that's with
Yes.
the view of going next week I'll be taking a 4-point hit to get triple Arsenal again. But I feel like then I'll be in a much better position. I'll be hits down, 8 points down, you could argue, but I will have the 3 Arsenal players. That's certainly 2 of them that I really want. And as good as Martinelli even might be against Everton, I know I don't want him for the double.
That's fair, but the problem is that if you are committing to 2 transfers this week and committing to 2 transfers next week, then if something comes up,
Yeah.
then you leave yourself with no flexibility to go elsewhere. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm definitely, you're so right there. And I'm willing to do that. Like if the bandwagon comes up, I'm happy not jumping on, because I don't think there's anyone that would really tempt me that I don't already have or want to get. And if an injury comes up, I guess I just have to rely on, say, next week, for example, Andreas is likely to be my first sub. He's got Forest at home. I'm happy to play him. But you're right. I'm banking on the fact I don't get major injuries and there's no major bandwagons. But I look at the upside.
Sorry for interrupting you,
No, go
Gianni.
on.
While we're at this, you're planning to get to Arsenal next week. I'm curious to hear which 3 Arsenal do you think are the best to own? Let's say you're
Yeah.
going to keep White. So which 2 are you prioritizing? Nketiah and Odegaard, and why?
Yeah, and Nketiah, for the numbers we've said, are just so impressive. And I don't think Jesus is coming back anytime soon. But I think when he does come back, it'll be a very slow start. So let's say he's ready by game week 25. We're probably not going to see him start until 27. Loads of time.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not guaranteed he walks straight back in. I think he probably is first choice. But if Arsenal are winning games comfortably, then Arteta's not going to want to change that system or that formation. And then, yeah, Odegaard over Martinelli. It's the X minutes is a big factor for me. I do think I was really impressed by Trossard against Man City in the Cup. And I do think Trossard will start coming off the bench fairly early. Martinelli will still be starting games, but I want my Arsenal players playing 90. And if they're not on the pitch for that last 20, they're going to miss out on a fair few goals, I think. I mean, Saka's tempting too. And if I sell Bruno next week, I could go Saka. But I think for value, it's Odegaard. I've wanted Odegaard for the last 2 months. And I'm finally at the point where I can get him. But all of this is stemmed from feeling the need to jump on a third United asset this week, Bruno. But also, I really want to cover Leeds. I just think Leeds score against Forest, and I think they score against United at Old Trafford. That's such a fun team to own. And I guess it's because I've seen the Rodrigo injury that I'm now secure over Bamford's start, that I'm happy just going Bamford and Bruno at the expense of Martinelli, who, as you say, on paper, it's a brilliant fixture. And the ownership's really high on Martinelli. That is slightly scary.
Exactly. If you want to go for the Leeds one, I mean, my thoughts. I'd sell Kane and Andres. I know it will come at the cost of a benching headache, but I think it saves you 4 points.
Kane and Andreas would... So you would sell... I'm just going to do the maths now. So I'm just going to get my team up. So you would sell Kane and Andreas to...
Yes.
To...
Nketiah and Bruno if you can afford
it. So then that saves me 4 points next week. I'm just seeing if I can afford it. I don't think I'll do it. I don't think I want to sell Andreas. It gives me 10.7 on a midfielder, and Man United's Bruno is 9.9, I think.
Yes, exactly.
So I can make those moves, but then I have a benching headache, not just this week, but every week. That's the
You
problem.
do. I
But I
know. I
save
know.
4
You do.
points and I cover Arsenal
Exactly.
attack for the game.
Yep.
But it doesn't give me
That's the
Bamford.
counter argument.
It
I mean,
doesn't give me
you can
Bamford.
choose. I mean, if you don't want a benching headache, what you can do is you can go with Nonto over, let's say, Nketiah, or even Bamford. What price is Bamford? I think you can go Bamford over Nketiah this week, and then bring Nketiah for Havertz next week. Why not that?
Yeah, I could do that. I've got just enough money to go Bamford this week. So I could go Bamford and Bruno in. They're my two ins, but instead of selling Martinelli, I'd be selling Andreas. But then next week, I've still got the dilemma of, do I want Martinelli for the double? No, I want Odegaard, and I'd probably take a 4
Yes,
point hit
but
to do it.
no. What if Martinelli does well against Everton? Would you still do it? Because next week I think Havertz and Nketiah can happen anyway, right?
Do you know what? If Martinelli does well against Everton, I'd still want to sell him.
I think that you should sell him now then.
Yeah,
I think that should answer your question.
yeah, I think so. John Cahill says, Gianni, just stock up on paracetamol. Love that. Big Ed's pointing out that we got the KDB price wrong. Yeah, he had a price drop last night. Our graphics were made last night. It's a benching headache if all the players are available. So Sammy, fair point. Yeah, guys, it's interesting. I'm going to consider off the back of this stream, big man's suggestion of Bamford and Bruno win. That I'm buying I'm buying Bamford and Bruno this game week. I can guarantee you all of that. So the question is, and Harry Kane's being sold. So the question is, am I selling Martinelli or am I selling Andreas? And I think it will be Martinelli, but I do massively appreciate your thinking there, big man, and great to give me different ideas and stress me out further ahead of the deadline. Thanks, mate.
No problem. Good
Guys,
luck with whatever you decide.
yeah, exactly. And no doubt, guys, I'll be posting it on social. So do follow us both for our team reveals on social. I think we'll probably both be hitting up a bit of Instagram later.
Always.
Guys, yeah, absolutely we are. Make sure our handles on Insta are the same as what you'll see on screen. Guys, we're not going to do against the obvious today. Why? Well, we want to get straight to your questions because I saw a comment in the chat earlier, and this person doesn't deserve a name reference, and I'm not even going to find the comment, but it said something like, Gianni's one of the FPL content creators that doesn't ever take our questions. Sorry, you've clearly never watched this stream. We dedicate at least 15 minutes of the hour to answering your questions. So we're going to start with our questions on screen now. And guys, thank you to the 436 of you that are tuning in. Do you trust Bamford is a question I'm going to throw to Big Man because I absolutely do. And I thought his FA Cup form last week was awesome. But what do you reckon, Big Man? He's been so injured in the last year.
I mean, if he's fit, he can do well. I do fancy Leeds against Forest in particular, and I think they will score against Man United as well. The only question mark is regarding his injury, his fitness, which, is always going to be in question. It's a punt, but as long as you appreciate it, it's a punt. And if Gianni's heart is set on it, I don't personally mind it. But again, you should know the risks.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Do I feel like you're a Leeds fan, Big Man? No,
I don't support any team in the
Why have
Premier
I
League.
seen you
In
with a
fact,
Leeds top? I
do. I have a Leeds top. I have a Bamford top actually. Yes.
Nice.
I just like assembling, and I have a lot of merchandise at different clubs. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, fair point. I mean, I support just about any Serie A team that's winning the league at any given time.
Yeah.
Leo asks about taking a hit to go Mitro out to Nketiah or just wait and make the move next week. I mean, that sounds very easy to me. You don't make that move. I'd play Mitro this week, and then next week question if it really is Mitro you want to sell to get Nketiah. Because Mitro is
Exactly,
about to go on
because
a really nice fixture run.
he has Forest at home next week. I would definitely get Nketiah, but not from Mitrovic.
Yeah. Who's your third striker? You've probably got Haaland, but if you're looking at taking a hit this week, then let's say your third striker's, I know, Greenwood. If you're taking a hit this week or considering it, you can just take it next week and go Greenwood out to Nketiah, for example.
Yeah.
Sally, what to do this week with Rodrigo and Stones? Well, sell them both.
Sell them both. Both are out for the long term. Rodrigo's out till March apparently, and Stones is out for at least 3 to 4 weeks. So sell.
Yeah. Who would be your replacements there, big man? A defender, I mean, at Man City, Akanji and Ake probably feel like the best two
Yeah,
options if you want to
yeah.
stay
These
in City.
two exactly. These are the two who appeal to me straight away from Man City. Um, and for Rodrigo, you'd probably go to someone like an Odegaard. I think
Yeah.
if you don't have triple Arsenal,
Good call. I was going to say
and
the
if you have
same.
if you have the funds, you go for Bruno.
Oh, Sharry's got a benching headache, as I know so many will this week. KDB, Martinelli on Nonto. Well, you can't bench Nonto. I'd never bench KDB. So I'd actually bench Martinelli.
I mean, just flip a coin. Honestly, the risks will come with these kind of questions. So, I mean, if I was forced into one, I would probably go with Martinelli as well, but it's very questionable.
Yeah, exactly that. I saw a few people asking about benching Kane or someone else really good, and that, like, loads of people having to bench Kane this week. Garav, loves you, legends. Should someone take a hit to remove Gaeta? Wow. And then to who? So goalkeepers we like. I mean, I don't think De Gea is a bad shout. It's just he doesn't
And
play in the
here's a
blanks.
yeah, De Gea's a decent shout, but if you're looking for someone who plays in the blanks,
Kepa?
Kepa probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea have a good fixture run after this week actually, so probably Kepa, yes.
Yeah.
Start White or Robertson. I would go with White simply because Liverpool's defense is all over the place at the moment.
I'm with
This
you
is an
there.
easy one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Wakim, Estupian is definitely a valid pick. Switches place with Matoma. Yeah, it's their passing map's really interesting. The amount of play that goes down that left-hand side, that left-hand channel is the one for Brighton. And Estupian and Matoma both look like probably two of the three standout players in terms of FPL in that team. Should Brighton double in 26, we're all going to want Matoma. But for the time being, I think we're probably concentrating on those with doubles now. Referee Rick, this one's for you, big man.
Bring in Martinez or Varane for White this week to allow Nketiah for Tony next week. I would keep White. I don't think I'd sell for United defender. I think the value, there's a lot of value in White, and you're probably better off looking at Rashford and Bruno up top as compared to Martinez and Varane. That's my answer.
Yeah, referee Rick, if you've already got 3 Arsenal, or if you've not already got 3 Arsenal, then I would want to get Nketiah. So I don't mind that. Nick asked about Pedro Porro. Yeah, this guy is awesome, dude. Like he's gonna get FPL points for fun. I think there's been a couple of really exciting transfers in January for FPL. I think Mudryk is one at Chelsea. I think Pedro Porro is definitely another one at Spurs. And Conte's been waiting for his own sort of wing backs, and he's not necessarily. He bought Perisic, fair, but he's not, for a Conte system. He's not had the best tools there. He's not had the best resources, and we know Pedro Porro will attack at will. Expect lots of assists. I think Harry Kane will benefit from him too. I actually launched my own channel yesterday, guys, for those that don't know, and I did a little feature. It's a 15-minute video. Check it out after this. But yeah, Pedro Porro features in it. So I'll put the link in the chat for those that want to check that video out. Oh, Foden to Mudryk. You'd be selling Foden, right, big man? Like, he's an absolute
For
sell.
sure. For sure. I think if you're selling Foden, you can go to someone like a Mahrez.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, it's a great shout. Mahrez has never been, famous last words here, we've all been stung by Pep, but Mahrez has never been so nailed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Rico Lewis. What do you reckon with Rico? Because the money's ridiculous. I think he's going to go up in value tonight to 4 million, but he's still probably you're still going to have that fear. Is he going to be right back, or is Walker going to be right back? He still doesn't feel safe as good as he's been.
I think he's first choice, but the thing with him is that I think he's more susceptible and more prone to early subs than, let's say, Kanji or Ake.
Yeah.
And you'd want your City defenders to be more secure. I think Rico Lewis is a case of wait and see.
Fair. Frank asked about Reece James. Yeah, I'd wait before buying Reece James, but do know that he'll almost certainly feature tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 30 minutes off the bench, or maybe he starts and gets 50, 60. Reece James will become a thing very soon, but for now, I'd wait and make sure that he manages that first game or two back, because we've seen him rush back before and he goes off injured again.
Exactly. Potter did say that he's not available for 90 minutes, so I think you can probably wait this week.
Oh, if you're going to captain Bruno, I don't mind the KDB Okikoki move, because you're so set on captaincy for Bruno. If you think Bruno's the best captain, you buy him at any cost. That's what you do with captains in this game.
Exactly.
Saka or Odegaard for Almiron? Oh,
both of us prefer Odegaard.
Yeah?
Both of us prefer Odegaard. Yeah.
I do. Yeah. So is that because of, are we going, for me, it's similar in terms of output, but for me, I prefer him just on value. You saved $1 million.
It's that, and the fact that I think that his floor is slightly higher. He just gets one attacking return. He gets bonus points. While the numbers after restart are more or less similar. In fact, Odegaard has had more big chance involvements. He's creating a lot of chances. So if I was to pick one, I'd probably go with Odegaard.
Yeah. Admiral, Trent and Martinelli for Bruno and a City defender. Have one free transfer. So Trent and Martinelli for Bruno and a City defender.
Wait, have midfield of KDB, Mahrez, Rashford? Does that mean he doesn't have Haaland? How is that possible?
Yeah, it's a very good point. He must have gone without Haaland. That's because that's too many premiums. Otherwise,
you should get Haaland.
Yeah, focus on Haaland. John asks about how many goals is Mudryk scoring in front of Dean tonight. Love that. I just love the idea of Dean sitting with loads of Chelsea fans with his Fulham shirt, probably underneath like 4 jumpers. I love Mudryk. Again, this is a guy I featured on my own channel yesterday in my launch video. This guy is already the fastest player in the Premier League. He had a 20-minute cameo against Liverpool and clocked the highest miles per hour. He's comfortable on either foot. He's great in the 1v1. He's been dubbed the Ukrainian Neymar. He even got a standing ovation when he played at the Bernabeu in the Champions League last year from the Real Madrid fans. That's how good he can be. Chelsea players have been super impressed by him in training. My mate was at training with Chelsea players the other day, and some of the players said to him, this Mudryk guy is like, they're blown away by his shot power and his speed was what my friend told me. So definitely one to monitor for FPL.
I do think that he's going to come into the picture soon enough as well, with Chelsea's fixtures coming up. Either him or Felix, I think one of them.
I love that Dean's just tuned in. I guarantee Dean's been watching for like 3 or 4 minutes and he's tuned in and seen us talking about him. Dean, just so you know, mate, we've literally spoken about you for the last 54 minutes non-stop. Bench 1, Martinelli or Nonto? Oh, what do you reckon, mate?
Probably Martinelli, but I mean, it doesn't really sit right with me.
Yeah. Pitcher Yude says, play Cucurella or Ake? I would play... There's a fear with Cucurella that he doesn't start, because we've seen a few different players at left back, and he comes off the bench and gets a point. I think I'd play Ake.
But it's the early kickoff, right, tonight?
Yeah.
So we're probably gonna get the news before the deadline. So if you get news that Cucurella is starting, then him. If you don't, then probably Ake.
I like that. Good shout. If you're not on FPL Twitter, make sure you are, because as Big Man says, there's always some rumours around. Should I bench De Bruyne for Mitro?
No, I think I'd bench Mitro.
Me too.
I definitely play De Bruyne.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Mitrovic didn't play against Chelsea a few weeks ago, so he was suspended. It was the game he was one of his suspended games for as part of that double game week. So he'll be raring to go. But still, you can't bench De Bruyne. Would you go Dalot to Shaw? Oh, Dalot is back training, but is he going to start? I'd probably not.
I would sell him. I think I'd sell him. Yeah, because Wan-Bissaka's been in good form, and I'm not really sure whether Dalot's going to play twice.
Yeah.
Or even once, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point. Casemiro, your thoughts instead of Bruno? Casemiro's numbers have been phenomenal for a DM. I don't quite know what's going on there. He even scored a couple in the cup. I think it's not sustainable, and I think he's probably just having a very good month or two in front of goal in terms of assists. But don't forget, this is a DM. He can't cover Bruno's points long term, I don't think.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. Paolo, I have Tony and Wilson. Transfer to Nketiah or hold? I'd transfer to Nketiah.
Yeah,
Maybe
I would
give
do the
Tony one more
transfer
week.
from.
Who do Brentford have
I
this
would
week?
sell Wilson. I think Wilson. Brentford have Southampton at home.
Oh yeah. I'd definitely sell Wilson over Tony.
Yeah.
Mudryk or Matoma? Oh, can I tell you after tonight?
If I was picking one this week, I'd probably go with Matoma, just because uh, of the next three fixtures, and I think he's more likely to get 90 minutes as well. Modric, I'm
Yeah.
not sure gets 90 in every fixture.
It's a very good point. I don't think Mudryk will get 90 tonight. Guys, I've literally just done a Mudryk video that was uploaded a few hours ago, so you can check that out too. But if you watch it, you'll probably want to buy him. Free hit the Newcastle Man United blank.
I don't think so, because
Well, that's
all
game week
other
25, right? No.
exactly, because we still have 3 or 4 transfers till then, and you can sell one of your Newcastle or Man United players by then.
I agree there. Massively agree. Any ideas on who will be Chelsea's new penalty taker? Yes, Steve. It will be Kai Havertz, which I'd be very confident about because Havertz is very good at penalties. I think there's a chance it could be Reece James when Kai's not on the pitch. I think it will be James over Mount. James has got taken a few in shootouts. Mount's missed a few. So, yeah, it'll be Kai. Or if he's not on the pitch, Reece.
His record is really good. He's actually scored 14 out of 14 penalties that
Oh, is that
he's
so?
taken. Yeah, and apparently he was pictured practicing penalties in training as well. So I agree with you over there.
I love that. Yeah, I saw those pictures and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter. And Gareth just says in the chat. But what we don't know is how many other players were also taking spot kicks. We've just seen Kai, like there's a photo of Kai taking one. It's like, did the whole team all take a penalty at the end of training? But yeah, if it was just him practicing alone, that's definitely what we want to hear. I'm a Havertz owner, so I'm delighted about that. We'll have 1 or 2 more questions. We'll do 2 more. Daniel asks, thoughts on Martial for the double? I mean, if you own him, you hold, but you definitely don't buy. Do you, big man?
Exactly. No chance. No chance at all.
Yeah. Unsubscribe. It's a cool name. Hope none of you guys are unsubscribing tonight. Please help, lads. Who would you bench? Seems impossible. And Nketiah, Saka, Odegaard. Wow, you own the great Arsenal 3 or Mahrez. You have to... Oh, I'd probably... Oh, that's a really tough one. I can't answer.
I'd probably bench Mahrez from those 4.
Your exit
Very tough
basket
question
there with Arsenal, but yeah, probably if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Mahrez too. Guys, thank you. It's weird because I would go Odegaard over. I'd go Odegaard over Saka given the choice to buy one of them, but I'd probably want to bench Odegaard before I bench Saka. So there we go. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Before we go, though, we've got a couple of shout-outs. Thank you to the 435 of you currently watching. Please do think about hitting that subscribe button and like button because we do these streams every Monday and Friday, and we want you guys to be around. But also, big man, how's it been? Wanted to thank you for giving up the last hour. It's been great chatting.
No problem at all. I think this has been one of our best streams since I've been on Chasing Green Arrows. I think we shared great chemistry personally, Johnny. I had a really good time. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much, mate. I, as always, really enjoyed our chat as well. And also delighted that you've brought to the show. You're triple captaining Rashford. We've both brought to the show that we're selling Kane to get Bruno in our teams, some with more surgery than others. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at, guys. But for now, make sure you're liking and subscribing. Good luck this game week. Big man, good luck to you. Let's hope Bruno brings it in and hope Kane blanks. And good luck for all of you that are going triple captain Rashford as well. For now, he's been Big Man. I've been Janny, and we've been chasing Green Arrows. Thank you for watching.